Okay, the word for tonight is the word never, as in for all time, something not happening. And you hear some folks even say, well, I never. You know, that's Southern speak for this is crazy, unbelievable, unheard of. Kind of like Southern speak for bless your heart, same thing. So there are some things I never thought I would see in my lifetime. And I'm not talking about owning a phone that gives me more computing power in my hand than the lunar module had when it set down on the surface of the moon, or being able to watch more than 3 channels in black and white on TV. No, here are some things I never thought I'd see. Number 1, a Supreme Court justice stating in court her concern that the government might not be able to moderate speech. In other words, control the speech that the government only wants us to hear. You know, the First Amendment literally begins with the words, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And yet Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson lamented that the First Amendment would make it hard for the government to make a law to actually abridge the freedom of speech. Of course, she is the same justice who in her confirmation hearings said this.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
Yeah, I'm not a biologist. I don't know what a woman is. God help us all, folks. She's on the Supreme Court. Number 2, I never thought that it would be easy for a gang member to illegally enter our country through an uncontrolled border than it would be for a tax-paying citizen to board an airplane. Number 3, I never thought that a White House senior official would be arrested, tried, and sent to prison for believing and practicing the principle of separation of powers. Yet Peter Navarro, a 74-year-old college professor who has been a guest on our show, was forced to report to prison this week for refusing to appear before the kangaroo court of the sham January 6th committee as he invoked the same principle in effect since the time of George Washington. Number 4, I never thought that a former president and prominent New York businessman would be put on trial for taking out a bank loan for real estate that was paid back in full and on time, and in which every single party involved in the transaction made money, harmed no one, employed thousands in good-paying jobs, and in which not even the bank was unhappy. Oh, it was all done because a highly partisan New York Attorney General carried out her campaign promise to destroy Donald Trump. A promise made before she was even elected and before she could even identify the crime, and put in a court with a joke of a judge who hammed it up for the TV cameras like he was auditioning to replace Judge Judy. I never thought, this is number 5, I never thought that the same former president would have his home raided and ransacked by government that is owned by his political opponent in order to find presidential papers and even rifle through the former First Lady's closets just to find documents that, as president, he had the right to possess. But the current president was completely let off the hook for possessing and carelessly storing 30 years' worth of classified documents that, as a senator and a vice president, he did not have the right to possess. And there was no charges filed, no raid of Hillary Clinton, who had a secret server in government documents that she illegally destroyed. Number 6, I never thought that America would ever surrender to a terrorist group like the Taliban when they abruptly abandon Afghanistan and leave $85 billion worth of aircraft and military equipment and supplies, as well as leaving behind thousands of Americans who were left to fend for themselves. Number 7, I never thought that a prominent U.S. senator would interfere in the politics of a foreign country who happens to be our closest ally, and that senator would call for the ouster of the prime minister of that country in the middle of a war in which they're fighting for their lives. Now, I never thought I'd see such things, but I have. And if we don't have some serious course corrections, and if we don't change directions in this country, our children and our grandchildren will experience a never of their own. They will never know the magnificent America that I've been privileged to live in. And we can never let that happen.
If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I hope you will now. The button is just below this video, and there's a little bell next to it. If you click on those, YouTube will reluctantly start letting you know when we've got a new video uploaded.